Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. Today, I was gonna tell you about something I was just thinking about. I'm gonna take the names out of this, locations, the whole 9 yards, to protect the guilty. But I'm gonna tell you about a large loss inspection that we handled a while back. So we look at the property, like all the details about the property, learn something about the property before we go to the property. And if the property has a high density of Spanish speakers, we make sure to have from the estimation staff, or the inspection staff, to actually go out there to see those Spanish speakers, all right? So the day comes for the inspection on this 620 unit apartment complex. I'm going to be looking at the exteriors and all the interiors. We bring 8 inspectors. Each of the inspectors goes around with a member of management or an owner to all of the units. Now, just to set it up in your mind, the way this is the maintenance folks and the owners, the insured, I guess, is they're from some Eastern Bloc country. Don't know which, but some Eastern Bloc country. They mainly speak non-English. But I mean, they do speak English pretty well, but I mean, obviously it's not their native tongue. So we go into each of these units, and each of these units, it's just like everybody else does in the industry. You go into the unit, you note who's there, you note the damage, whatnot. And so what happened was our Spanish speaking inspectors would go in and greet the tenants in Spanish. The tenants would almost immediately, when we ask about the storm and the damage, they would say, "They came by earlier today and told me to tell you that all of this was from such and such storm. But this has been here for 5 years since I've been here, or 6 years since I've been here, or 7 years since I've been here. This didn't happen because of the storm." So that was one. Each of those inspectors did 7 different units. And in all but one of those units, the exact same thing happened in each one of those units. Now, keep in mind, the Eastern Bloc individual with us didn't speak Spanish. He wasn't aware of what was going on. At this point, the crew chief called for a powwow, got his people together and said, "Hey, are you guys noticing anything weird about this?" And all of them said, "Yeah, we were going to call you about it." And everybody has the same thing, like I just told you. So at that point, they do what they're trained to do. They call our in-house counsel and they say, "Oh, in-house counsel, something seems terribly wrong here. What do we do?" In-house counsel says, "Sit tight." In-house counsel picks up the phone and calls the public adjuster and says, "Hey, I think your insured may be up to some insurance fraud," and explain what was going on. The PA said, and I quote, "You're full of shit. I don't know what's wrong with your people. I'm going to have my lawyer call you," and hung up. 3 minutes later, a lawyer calls, represents the PA, actually represents the insured, and I guess de facto the PA. PA says, he says, "I talked to the PA, and what you're saying is absolutely wrong. That's not what we're doing. We would never do that. And you guys can just leave the property and we're not going to pay you, and we want to be paid back for the monies we paid for it on deposit." In-house counsel says, no, you're going to pay for our time. You're going to continue to have the deposit you had because they work against the time we had. And if you owe anything, you'll pay it. The attorney says, no, I'm not going to pay it. And we are going to reverse those charges. In-house counsel writes an email to the PA and to the attorney that says, under such and such, such and such, such state regulation, we are not allowed to engage in anything that's tantamount to insurance fraud. We notice this behavior on your insured's behalf. We called such and such, such and such, such and such, and we got this response. If you do not pay us and do not move forward on this, we'll take you into civil district court and we will discuss this with you. And I do not think it will go well for you while you're engaging in insurance fraud. The attorney calls back. He's utterly pissed. He says, I cannot believe you wrote this down. Now we can never sue on this file. We can never sue on this file. And my in-house counsel says, what would you be suing for? There's no damage from the peril. Or if it is, it's so much more minimal than what you're trying to push. The attorney had some other words for him and hung up. Not because of this particular file, but evidently because of several others. The attorney was disbarred a year and a half later. The PA committed suicide after losing his license and having a bunch of money to pay back to a bunch of clients. I guess my point is this. If we're going to do this, let's do it with a moral barometer. And I think this should be well said for everybody in the claims tribe, whether you work plaintiff or defense. We do it right, or we shouldn't do it at all. Hope you're having a good day. Peace.